this podcast, you'll find interviews with high-performing, successful individuals in life sciences. On a weekly basis, we cover their proven methods, principles, strategies, and mindsets to implement new technologies that scale to meet the needs of people in our world.
Welcome to this episode of Life Science Success. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Don, and I'm a digital marketer in life sciences. And before we hop into the interview today, I just wanted to play a quick message from our sponsor.
Are you a life science investor or executive looking to make meaningful connections? Introducing Bullpen, an exclusive club where industry leaders gather to help others succeed. Our mantra is simple: find someone to help. Repeat. Join us for virtual panels, networking events, and unparalleled opportunities to collaborate with top-tier professionals. Bullpen, where deal makers meet and innovation thrives. Apply now at bullpen.ventures.
In this episode of Life Science Success, my guest is Richie McCann. Richie is the head of global sales for site payments and budgeting at Greenfire, a pioneering company revolutionizing financial management and patient support for global clinical trials. So with that, welcome, Richie.
Hey, Don. How are you?
Thanks
so much for having me today.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And I really look forward to our interview. I feel like there's an awful lot that in this space that we could probably cover. So would you mind just starting off with just a little bit about yourself and sort of what led you to your work at Greenfire?
Yeah, thanks, Don. Well, I joined Greenfire actually this week, 12 months ago. So it's nearly 1 year. It's incredibly fast. And it's been an exciting one. So therefore, when you're having fun, I guess time does go quickly. So yeah, as I say, I joined Greenfire in November 2023. I was really attracted to Greenfire. Well, let's talk about people and let's talk about the company. But for me, the next step I was looking for was the people. I needed to make sure that I was going to work with like-minded people, good team members, passionate about what they do, and try to be on a common goal in terms of trying to make lives easier for patients ultimately, because I love that in terms of what we do here at Greenfire. But predominantly, it's the people. So from speaking to different leaders at Greenfire, that was the thing that really attracted me to the team. So for me, that's been the main thing, is the people, but then the company itself. One thing I noticed after being in life sciences for the last 5 years, I had been focused for the year before in trying to help patients in terms of getting their feedback and trying to make patients more relaxed going into a trial and ultimately helping the drug get to market faster. But the thing I noticed, and there's nothing wrong with collecting that information and setting the right expectations, but one thing that is always hard to get is budget for the patient in terms of it being allocated, right? So that's what I loved around Greenfire, and that's what I loved about this role was we go back all the way to the start to site budgeting, and we'll get into it later, but we use the fair market value that we collect in the site payments that we execute on, and we help CFOs and VPs of finance make more strategic decisions over the life cycle of that drug development. And we make sure that we're allotting for patients at the end of it, because it's very hard to ask for more budget when you're halfway through or starting a phase 2 and the amount of patients are coming into the trial. We need to know well in advance. So that was another big attraction for me joining the team at Greenfire.
Yeah, whenever I look at your career, right, so, I see Salesforce. You were at Viva for a while, which is well known in our industry with regards to sales and sales intelligence and things like that. And then, it looks to me also like Stitch was something that did something very similar in this space. Why were people so important to you in this role? Whenever you made that transition, you just made that point a couple of different times. And so what sort of told you, hey, look, the recipe has to be a little bit different for, my next role to really fit and the people are important?
Yeah, okay. I want to say something, and I hope it doesn't sound cheesy, but I would like to think that I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I would like to think. I'm not too sure what other people would think, but that entrepreneurial spirit has always been in me, and I've had a few over the years, some like little side hustles some went so good and some not so well. But the thing is, what I was looking for in this role was something that would allow me to go do things, try things, come up with new ideas on how we approach things, working with the team members. And I have to say, the leadership at Greenfire support that. And even in this last 12 months, we have achieved so many different things and so many more things to come that I wouldn't say it's carte blanche. You always have to have a reason for what you want to do, and you have to think it out, right? But that's what I love about it, is that I can break down some paper barriers with the team, and we kind of break them down together, and we can move a little bit faster, grow the company, help our customers more, get feedback from our customers to improve the product. And again, I'm going to keep talking through the next 15 minutes about patients, because that's what we do this for, is them at the end of the day. I can't imagine what it's like going through a rare disease trial or anything in cancer or anything like that. I am blessed, but it's extremely difficult. And, like if we can make a 0.5% of a difference to a patient's engagement, I think I would happily like to be part of that.
So can you tell us a little bit more about Greenfire? What is it that they do, and how are they looking to touch people in this space?
Sure. Okay. Well, the way I describe Greenfire to our customers is that ultimately we're a fintech company born in the life sciences space. And the beauty of Greenfire is we understand drug development and what needs it from a financial standpoint, but we also understand the quality and the regulatory requirements from a fintech perspective. And you need those two things to execute on a site payment from a sponsor to a clinical site or a CRO to a clinical site. It sounds really simple, but the thing is, these trials are run globally. So there are lots of intricacies, such as running a trial in Poland or running a trial in the USA or in South America. And we can help our customers with that. So it's not just a glossy demo, it's what happens in the background. You have to have a team of people that are experts. And I'll never make the claim that I'm a regulatory or quality expert, tax expert, even a product engineering on the side of things. That's not me. But what we do have is we have really, really good people that are responsible for those roles.
Yeah, some of my recent work has me crossing paths a bit more with tax experts, and I never knew how deep and complex some of these things are, especially whenever you're dealing with multiple countries. And I can definitely understand the need for expertise, especially in different segments overall.
Just let me add to that, Don, as well, because sometimes I get stuck in my own site budgeting and site payments world, right? There's a whole other financial world to Greenfire, and that's the patient reimbursement piece in terms of where we look after the patient's expenses in a trial. We also organize travel as well. So we have concierge services. We can organize a lift service for one patient, and if another patient needs a black car, we can organize that as well. And then the Green Space app is something we're working on to, as I said at the start, to collect that feedback from the patient and set the expectations for the patient's experience. So they're the 5 main facets to what Greenfire do.
And in terms of the way that clients come to you, what does a client look like for Greenfire? And then also, it sounds like you're involved on the patient side, but also I just envision, that you're probably, dealing with multiple players in this space as well. So we'd love to know kind of what is the journey to getting patients engaged in a clinical trial with Greenfire.
Okay. So Don, I would say the patients are in my heart, right? But in terms of what I'm responsible is the business part, right? And it's not the patient directly. I'm responsible for helping our sponsors pay sites on time more regularly, and then getting the oversight of checks and balances. Mm-hmm. So it's not with the patient directly, just to say that out loud. It's more about the connection between two parties it's either the site, the sponsor on the site, or the CRO who's doing the work on behalf of the sponsor to the site. Okay, so that's what site payments is. It's the financial flow of monies between the two parties. So I'm not actually directly interacting in the patient side, but it's more the impact we make by, if we pay, for example, how we would impact patients from this, my perspective is this. Traditionally, up to a few years ago, sites were getting paid quarterly and they were running out of money. And it meant that their runway of cash was not there to upskill their staff, get the best equipment, and give the patient a better experience. But with our technology, you can pay sites fortnightly, for example, or monthly. And this means that sites are more financially sustainable and therefore can invest on the experience for the patient. So it's not directly a touch point, but it very much influences the patient experience.
Yeah, I definitely have seen, the kind of the length of time in terms of reimbursement. If you're looking for, that reimbursement for payment, for the clinical trial work that you're doing, that it oftentimes leads to lengthy delays and things like that. So I've seen, plenty of examples of that, including, I seem to recall about a year ago seeing a check, screenshotted that, hey, look, this is 2 years ago we completed this work, and by the way, we're just getting paid, as of today. So, definitely
it's insane.
Seen things. So, yeah.
And Don, I must go to around 6-7 events a year. Even there was an event in North Carolina where two big sponsors, so like Top 50 Pharma, were coming up to us saying that they had got notification from a site that there was an invoice outstanding for 24 months. No one knew anything about it, and no one knew the trail. So they had to go back and start going through the bureaucratic admin to find out where it went. Like, it just takes up so many hours for a person to do that. And one thing I'll add to that, Don, is I will be passionate about this, and I'm extremely thankful for my time in Salesforce, because it gave me absolute first-class training in terms of how to run a business and how to use data in a way that's intelligent. And you kind of asked me a question, I think 2 questions back, why did I get into the life sciences space? I feel like this space is about 10 years behind fintech or any other industry, right? Yeah. And I was like, okay, I've learned a lot of things for 7 years here at Salesforce. I can take what I know for cutting edge fintech companies. Why can't we put this into the life sciences space? Why can't we give more power to the people in finance to make better decisions? So we're sitting on a mountain of data because of the site payment execution that we do. And now we're surfacing this data. And that's the way it should work. So I don't know what it is. Is it inertia for whatever reason that we're 10 years behind in other industries? Who knows? I mean, you could go into a lot of conspiracy theories if you wanted, but I think why not? And I think we should be pushing this best practice because, if you think about the people we're trying to make healthy again, but also these are businesses as well. We've got to remember that they're businesses and they want to turn a profit. So why wouldn't you want to make them run more effectively? We can't forget about that just because it's people's health. I think sometimes we're afraid to talk about, we want companies to succeed, and we should, because the more they succeed, the more revenue they can reinvest to the next trial. So let's try do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my personal opinion. So that's not Greenfire's. That would be my own thought process on it.
So in terms of technology, how does your technology help to streamline the clinical trial process and improve patient experience?
Okay, well, let me try walk you through the life cycle of how we help in a short 2 minutes, right? And I'll try to keep it very succinct, okay? And I'll keep the Irish accent down, Don. So if there's 5 key areas, there's 5 key areas, thanks, Don. There's 5 key areas that we support in the financial transformation, right? So if we go back to the start, in the very inception of study startup, and we think about using the fair market value that we collect in the site payment execution, we now surface that data into our site budgeting tool, which allows us to take the customer to take the protocol, insert it, and then use access to all the CPT codes for all that data we collect to make an accurate forecast of what that's going to look like to run that trial. And then they can also scenario plan as well. So they can play with it and see, work out using our I suppose the way we use the tool is to understand, like, why is it cheaper in New York than, say, in Kansas? And we can see, like, running a trial is where it's going to be cheaper, or where do we get most effectiveness for the dollar invested. So that site budgeting tool helps us forecast and set the expectations. We then move into the site payments piece, which is when the trial starts, we execute on remunerating the site from the sponsor or the CRO to make sure that they get paid on time for services provided. Then with patient reimbursement, the patient has a card in their pocket for travel. So whether it be a train, their lunch, their dinner, this can be critical for a patient staying in an actual trial. So if they're not out of pocket and they can get remunerated straight away, the patient is not worrying about finances in terms of going into a clinical trial, and hopefully not in, not being 100% healthy. I can't imagine the stress of that, but then having financial stress on that as well it's just too much to think about. The travel services then is where, as I described, we can organize any accommodation, travel for the actual customer. So, and we have different levels of service. We can do it on a concierge level, or else we can do it on a level, as I said, with access to cabs to get you to and from. And then the very last piece, the fifth piece, is our GreenSpace app, where, as I say, that is what we're developing for the patient experience piece, to get their feedback, and also in time to go to the one place on their phone for everything finance, and also to give their feedback. Because one thing I did notice, sites are under a lot of pressure with different pieces of technology, right? But What's going to drive a site or a patient to use an application? It's usually a financial one. It's not just for experience. If they can get access to getting remunerated for their experience in a trial, then they might fill out a survey a bit quicker. So I think it's about having it all in the one place. That really helps the patient, and then you take that information and then you're able to reflect back in time how we're performing at the site level for the patient.
So I would imagine you probably don't want to share the actual name of the clinical trial, but it'd be nice to know if you could share an example of how your solutions have had a significant impact on the clinical trial's efficiency or outcomes.
Yeah, there's so many. I would say I spend 70% of my week speaking to sponsors and 30% of the CROs. I can talk to two examples, one with the sponsor and one with the CRO, if that helps. I'll start with the sponsor. So a big thing is that sponsors talk about, they want to work with the sites of choice, right? Sites talk about being the sponsor of choice, but it goes both ways, right? So even this week, we were talking to a sponsor in the oncology space that is saying that they want to work with the best sites, and it's becoming more and more competitive. And they want to be able to, not just the site sell to the sponsor, but the sponsor wants to sell to the site in the bid defense as well, to say, listen, we have the flexibility here to pay you fortnightly or monthly. And we want you to have access to the administration of that, make it really easy for you as well. So there's not paperwork flying around. There's not the oversight, not seeing what's happening in terms of how many invoices are outstanding. You want to be able to click in and see how you're performing in those invoices and see what's gone over so it can get an immediate attention. That's really making an impact, because the sites are saying that I want to work with these forward-thinking sponsors, and then they're getting the best experience for the actual patient. On the CRO side, in terms of what examples we're seeing, is there is, I think, a bit of a transformation in the CRO industry. I think some CROs are staying as is, and it's just pure services. But then other CROs are seeing the power of data and the service that they can provide to the sponsor. And that is the oversight and the reports. Traditionally, a CRO servicing a sponsor would send an email once a month huge, massive Excel document. And I would have to go through that if I worked in finance line by line and check. And then I would send it back to my CFO, and then he would check it. And then I would send it back to the CRO to double check. And that can take up to a fortnight. No one needs to spend time on these tasks when the data is there and it's easily accessible. So that for me is like one of the big selling points for CROs is the oversight of data. People also, the VPs of finance and the financial people, not the sponsors, they don't want to just pay for a service anymore. They want to use the information to make intelligent decisions. And I'm going to repeat this, Don, I don't know, probably 10 times in this 50 minutes. But that's exactly what CFOs do in other industries. They want to see where the dollar's going, and they want to be able to track it, and they want to be able to make intelligent decisions on it. So it's about time we helped the finance people with that. I get a bit passionate about that, Don. I hope my voice didn't go up too much.
No, I think it is a critical thing, and I can only imagine, right? So just, getting this massive sheet with all the people that are in a clinical trial and all the charges and things that need to be reimbursed, and all the payments that need to be made, just having to track all of that, is important. One for the sponsor, but also important, as well on the other side to make sure that the data that's coming out is accurate.
Absolutely. And, just-in-time funding is also really, really important. You only want what you're going to use in the month of November in the bank account. Like this old way of doing things and paying for everything up front and the money moves out of the biotech, which, let's face it, they're getting money from private equity, and that money, millions of dollars, is gone to sit in someone else's bank account. The customer should absolutely sit on that money and let them make more decisions on what to do with that money. Just-in-time funding is also something that makes absolute sense to me. It's no question.
Yeah, absolutely. So what upcoming projects or innovations at Greenfire are you particularly excited about?
Well, the product team, maybe if they do sit through this and watch it, they'll know what I'm really excited about. And, we sit on this mountain of gold, which is the data. And we are changing how we show the insights on this data. So we're launching dashboards really soon in the new year. And that means that people are going to be able to click in and see, straight away. An example would be, why are we spending $5 million at a university in Texas compared to $1 million in a university in Colorado? And why are we spending more money in Texas than we are in Colorado, but we've got more patients in Colorado? So, think of the absolute benefit that is going to go to the people that make these decisions. Because I must call out, the reason why we're successful in this space is because of the 4-step process we have on the execution of a site payment. It's second to none. It's simple and it's easy to use. And we have really nailed that. So now we're taking this business intelligence to offer double value, if you like, not just the actual workflow value, but also now on a more high level for a business overview to run your business using this data. Yeah. That is relevant to site payments.
Does new capabilities in terms of any of the analytical tools that are out there or AI play a role at all in the future for what you're developing at Greenfire?
Well, absolutely. Look, AI is everywhere. I was watching a video last night. If you're not writing your own AI code in 2024, you're behind the times. Maybe I'm showing my age a little bit, but I even had a friend who he attended an AI learning course there a couple of weeks back, and he said it was brilliant. He's sending me a video of him speaking in French, and it looked pretty good, I have to say. So AI is everywhere. I think we have to make intelligent decisions on what's best for the customer. So I think we'll be working with our customers to get feedback in terms of how AI can help. And also with our product team. I would say we get 50% of our feedback on the roadmap from our customers and then 50% with our own product team. I would say, Don, I'm not trying to be elusive in my answer, but AI, you really, really need to have an understanding of where it's going to add value, and it's not going to mess some things up, right? So
right.
I love that we're all talking about AI, but at the same time, it needs to be well thought out. But yes, certainly, look, listen, everybody's talking about it. It's just what way we go about it. I think also it would be fair to say your AI is only as good as the data that you have in the system too. So that's, we're in a great place because we update that site payment data quarterly. So that fair market value we update quarterly. No one has this data because no one executes the amount of site payments that we do. So we have the bedrock there. It's now how do we build the AI house on top of it?
Perfect. So what do you see as the future of financial management and patient support in clinical trials? How do you see that Greenfire will be supporting that vision as well?
Well, that's a great question. I think as a fintech company, we're trying to do everything that leads back to the actual financial journey in a clinical trial. So we want to be the go-to company in terms of anything with a dollar that's related to a clinical trial, we want to help our customers with. So, we're always getting tons of great ideas from our customers in terms of what we want to do. Our roadmap at the moment is so well populated with lots of changes going into next year that Joe, our product guy, is like, every time he sees one of us, I think he wants to hide. But Joe's a great guy. And we're taking that vision, what's on the roadmap, and we're trying to do what's right, keeping in mind that the top 20 pharma are important, but also the biotechs are really important. So it's trying to get that mix that you're trying to cater to the industry and what the needs are and not one specific customer. Because if we let one specific customer dictate where they want to go, then it mightn't be great for biotechs or it mightn't be great for the top 20 pharma. So it's a balancing act. But I would say, and I know it's a bit of a vague answer, Don, anything financial in the clinical trial, we want to be involved in it. And I think then also, partnerships are really important to us as well. So we realize that as much as we want to build everything, sometimes we can't build everything. So there is, we're trying to build an ecosystem of partners out there that can support in different areas. So whether it be ECOA, whatever it might be, ePro rather, like whatever it might be, we want to partner with those best-in-class providers as well to kind of create that village ecosystem of terms of best-in-class technologies to partner up against. So I think we have a very open mind in terms of where we're going, and that's one of the reasons why I joined Greenfire. Is it's like we're like that salmon going upriver. We're trying to find our way.
Yeah, I also hear though in a lot of your answers, and I know. You've apologized a few times for, hey, look, you're passionate about different areas of this, but I also hear a very strong balance between like, here's how we're going to apply the technology, but we also want our clients and patient experience to be, kind of touched in a certain way. How does Greenfire approach, balancing that technological innovation and maintaining a focus as well on the patient experience?
Okay, well, that's an interesting question, Don, because I think it's how we approach our customers, and I think it's the ability to listen. I think, and this starts with the very start when you inquire on our website around site payments, Don, at your company, right? And then our sales development rep gets in touch with you. It's the very start of the journey. It's being able to listen, right? And to understand what's important to each sponsor and what's important to the CRO. And that's one thing I love about my job is no project is the same. So I approach it that it's interesting. I want to hear what the people have to say. And then we do it. Sometimes if you're not the fit, you have to say that. But if you hear what the problem is and you can offer a solution that is relevant to the person that you're speaking to, then we're talking to that person and we're hearing their problems and we're going to try fix that problem. A bugbear I would have is pitching. I can't stand it. Like you pitch. Right. Think about that. No one likes being pitched to. No. People want to be listened to. And, as a balance of being listened to and then using the great team that we have here at Greenfire and then understanding what the problem is to focus in. And on a daily basis, I would work with solution consultants who are really, really good. We work with the product team. We work with program management in terms of setting the right expectation for what an implementation is going to look like. So I think it's all about listening to the customer, but also at the same time, you got to set the expectation.
Yeah.
No one likes claims being made, right? Because claims become a mess. And we waste valuable time on cleaning up a mess. So I'd rather be more in our approach is to being able to listen, to understand what the challenges are. And then we guide through our experience in 8 years in site payments and 12 years in patient reimbursement about what the best way forward is. So I would like to think that we're a technology company, but we're also a solution provider. It's not just the technology, it's the approach. And, to ask the customer, what do you think is best for you? That for me is really, that's why I love my job, Don. One of the reasons is like the different conversations, and it's being able to listen to understand what's going to match. I think that's what makes the day go faster and like enjoyable. Yeah.
Absolutely. The next few questions focus in on you. So the first question is, what's the greatest leadership advice that you've ever received?
I've got loads of advice for that over the years. I'm getting older now, so I've heard a few. I think I'll be really transparent about, I think, where my tipping point was in my career. And I think that's when I left Salesforce. I think I made a decision when I was walking into Viva. I was going to be myself. And I think you shouldn't have a different mask for work and a different mask for outside. And maybe this is common sense to everybody, but I'm just talking about to myself. I always felt that before I made that decision that I was always comparing myself to what I perceived to be best. So therefore, I was always really self-critical, but I will be self-critical still in this role. We can always learn. I'm always messing up. It's how you mess up and how you fix it. So I think being yourself is the best leadership advice I got, because it rang home. Because ever since I've made that decision, I enjoy my work so much better.
Yeah.
And I don't have to think. So maybe that's really common sense to you, Don, but to me, it was kind of a light bulb moment that happened in my late 30s. I'm really embarrassed to say that, but yeah, it did take me a while.
Yeah, I think I've used this analogy before in previous podcasts. So I used to run a lot. I can't run anymore, but really enjoyed running outside. And at one point, I got into marathons. Really enjoyed running marathons and half marathons. And one of the things I learned from one of the running coaches that I had was essentially about matching pace. So essentially, your stride is your stride. That you can't really, change it that much. You can modify it for a period of time. But if you think about it, running alongside somebody, if you try to match footfall for footfall with somebody for a while, you can do it. But over time, you're going to go back to your natural pace and run at your natural pace. And that's whenever I hear this example of, people modifying the way that they are at work and things like that, and not being their genuine selves. I know we can do it for a period of time, but I don't know how you would do it, for a great length of time. And I think we all sort of get exhausted with, okay, so I can't do this, forever. So I have to go back to who I am.
Absolutely, Don. So we're building the team at the moment, and a critical question for me is it's more a statement than a question. It's we need to understand if Greenfire is a good fit for you, because I think we have to be fair to people, right? Because we run at an unbelievable pace here. There is pressure, but it's good pressure, I have to say, in terms of the pressure lies with me, and it's up to me to make what I want to do with it, that entrepreneurial spirit I was talking about. And I kind of probably take that, not personally, but I'd put a lot of weight on the responsibility for that, and I'd be very proud of it. But not everybody's going to feel the same as me about it, So, you have to understand that you're trying to, set the right expectations. And I don't expect that from people on our teams, but, I think we're always trying to do the right thing. which you see that a lot on a lot of company value, they're company value things, and do the right thing. Of course you do the right thing. Like, why wouldn't you do the right thing? It reminds me actually, Don, when I worked in Israel years ago, and we were doing a bid defense in this beautiful high tower. And I, working in Israel for maybe 6 months, I had been there 6 times, but I'm Irish, so I talk differently, say, to other countries. So we let in things like, I remember saying, as we came to the negotiation part, I used the phrase, "I'll be honest with you now," which Irish people use all the time, right? And the people at the opposite side of the table, or around the table, were saying, "You're only being honest with us now?" So, and I was like, trying to backtrack, trying to explain that it's a colloquialism or whatever. But I think doing the right thing is that shouldn't be a company value. I think that's a rubbish company value. Of course you do the right thing. It's expected. When you sign the piece of paper, it's do the right thing. So I think those kind of, I think that's really important in terms of, what I live by.
So important.
So important. But being yourself is number one, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. What inspires you?
Oh, that's a big question. So many things inspire me, I think, and I can change from hour to hour. What inspires me? Lots of different things. Family is definitely number one for me. Kids. I love kids in terms of their innocence and the way they look at things. They inspire me. My children definitely do. My children. What inspires me? I think my dad inspired me in some ways about business. He was self-employed and he built up a business himself, and he was a one-man band and he was the business. And I saw him getting up early in the morning, and he always had get up and go. And Dad definitely inspired me from the business side of things. But then my mum inspired me in other ways. So family first, treating people like the way you want to be treated. I think that was always important. And then my partner will inspire me as well. Friends inspire me, but then our customers, I can be inspired in loads of different ways. I think I get inspired a lot, Tom. Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. What concerns you?
What concerns me? Okay, well, I'll leave the outside world to the side because we all know what's going on in the world at the moment. Lots of concern there. But in terms of what I do on a day-to-day, I think sometimes inertia in life sciences, I can't put my hands on it why we don't want to move faster like other industries. And I just can't get my hands around it. And I could give you a number of different reasons as to why we're not using technology to go faster, to do better. And I think that would be a more personal frustration when I see technology and ultimately using it just for a service with no data back from it. That concerns me, because I think we could go a lot quicker and we could ultimately cure people faster. We get a faster way to getting a cure for diabetes or whatever it is that is so prevalent amongst younger people. Technology for younger people in diabetes trial is so important to them now that they're growing up with technology and access to it. And we got to think about the younger generations that are coming down. So we need to do better, not just business technology, but the consumer technology approach to the patient. Yeah. If I get sick tomorrow, I can use Deliveroo or whatever you use over there, Just Eat, to get food delivered to my door. But I won't have access to information about what's ahead of me till I have my appointment in 3 weeks' time or 3 months' time. 3 weeks if you're lucky. And that is huge that's a mental tax burden on you, for you, and actually probably for the loved ones around you. It's probably even worse for them. It is, in fact, worse for them because they're worried about you. So I think speed concerns me. Yeah, I think we should be embracing technologies and approaches to help what we do in this industry. Yeah, that concerns me because it never goes as fast as I think it should. And that's not just me saying that we want Greenfire to be everywhere. I am talking about the actual clinical trials in a holistic view. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Last question, what excites you?
Well, I think I have a zest for life, Don. I'm kind of older now. I'm probably way more comfortable in my skin, but I don't feel old. So everything excites me. Kids, what we're going to do at the weekend excites me. Spending time with the kids and granny and granddad inspires me, excites me. Going for a run. I'm going hiking next week with a few buddies up in the Wicklow Mountains south of here where we have, we go hiking for the day. It's going to be cold. It'll probably be wet. It's Ireland. Weather will be nasty, but we'll do a bit of hiking and then we'll enjoy some nice hot dinner in front of a fire and have a few pints. Like that excites me. And, the chat. So what else excites me? Yeah, and succeeding and seeing things grow internally at Greenfire, seeing the team grow, seeing people develop. And I'm excited to see where Greenfire goes, because I think we're turning into a data company as well as a software company. So I think that the road ahead is really, really exciting. So it'd be good to see where we go in the next few years, and I'm looking forward to seeing that too.
Absolutely. Well, Richie McCann, thank you so much for being on the Life Science Success Podcast and for sharing what's going on at Greenfire and the important work that you're doing in this space as well. So thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you for listening to Life Science Success. For complete details about this podcast, including show notes, how to get in touch with guests, and more episodes, please visit www.lifesciencesuccess.com. If there's someone you'd like for us to invite to the show as a guest, please let me know by sending me a message at the podcast website. Please click subscribe on your favorite podcast app, share the podcast, or tell a friend about it, and last but not least, rate the podcast. Thank you again.